So the Larry Smith Award is presented annually to a former small college player who has used the game of basketball to learn and apply the life lessons that have significantly enhanced their life and then given back to impact the lives of others and ultimately change the world for good. I'm so proud of this award. The reason I'm so proud of it is it speaks to the purpose of our platform here at Small College Basketball. As I mentioned earlier, we are just determined to use this platform as a force for good. And this award highlights someone that has used the game of basketball to get an education, to learn from their coaches and their professors, and to make something of themselves, and then turn around and give back and make a difference in our world. So I'd like to bring up Jim Nelson, the Athletic Director Emeritus at Suffolk University, to talk a little bit about Larry Smith himself. He'll introduce Dr. Jim Poteet, and we'll take it to announce the winner of the 2022 award. But first, I'd like to bring up Mr. Jim Nelson.
Thank you, John. As you see three people come out to here, it reminded me a little bit of an old TV show, What's My Line? Let's guess which one's Jim Nelson, which one's Larry Smith, and which one's Dr. Jim Poteet. Well, this is Larry Smith and Jim Poteet. And I am Jim Nelson, the Emeritus Athletic Director and former head basketball coach at Suffolk University in downtown Boston. Our university is located in a wonderful location adjacent to the Golden Dome of the Massachusetts State House on historic Beacon Hill and adjacent to the business community and the financial community of the city of Boston. But before Larry Smith had the opportunity to give back, Larry came from a very impoverished community across the Tobin Bridge in the Boston Harbor, Chelsea, Massachusetts. Larry's family, like so many of that community, were hardworking individuals who went to do the laborious opportunities to clean offices, wash windows, and prepare those facilities for those in the business community. Larry's grandfather and Larry's dad were the same. On two occasions, Larry's grandfather and Larry's father had injury and illness and could not go on to do that work, to bring home a paycheck for the families. And Larry and his brother Michael, at a very early age in high school, stepped forward. And before they went off to high school and later to college, they would get up so very early in the morning, go off, wash the floors, clean the windows, and prepare those facilities for those other individuals. But Larry was not going to let that define his life. He wanted success. He wanted success on the basketball court. He wanted success in the classroom. And he well exceeded in both. He was a valued and well-appreciated teammate, leading his team in rebounds, points when necessary, and always a defensive presence. And he took care of his studies. When Larry and his brother Michael both graduated from Suffolk University, they started an insurance business with $200 and an old typewriter. and they developed that business into a behemoth in the insurance industry. Larry and his brother have contributed millions of dollars, literally millions of dollars, to very many institutions and organizations. And I would be remiss if I did not also indicate that a large voice in that is Larry's beautiful wife, Elaine, who was with us this evening, encouraging him along those lines. At Suffolk University, we have the Larry and Michael Smith basketball court, the Larry and Michael Smith Physical Fitness Center, the Larry and Michael Smith dormitory, the Larry and Michael Smith University cafeteria, and just this year, Larry and Michael and Elaine have contributed several $million additional to the university to support its athletic programs. What next, Larry? Smith University? It would get my vote without question. An extraordinary individual. Larry also has supported AAU programs. He's also supported a scholarship in the name of one of his best high school friends, the Sheldon Cohen Scholarship, a friend of his at Chelsea High, who gave his life for this country in the Vietnam War. Larry also served in the military, and I hope we will all keep in mind that next Friday is Veterans Day, and we have so much to thank for our veterans who protect this country and serve it so very well. Over these past years, we have had remarkable candidates, and you will meet one of them, an additional one, besides this year's individual, for the Larry Smith Award. But to present the 2022 award, let me bring forward Dr. Jim Poteet, who can talk about the individual who will receive it and also was a player for Jim at Biola University. Jim Poteet.
Thank you. Well, as a first-time head coach at the age of 27, I knew I must recruit some players who could make our team at Biola College competitive. I drove a few miles one day in early June to Whittier College to talk with my friend Ivan Guevara, who had also been hired as a first-time head coach. However, he was taking over an established program, and Biola was just joining the NAIA. As we talked, I asked Ivan if he had finished his recruiting. He told me he had all the players he needed. That opened the door for me to ask if he had some prospects that he had not contacted. He rummaged around on his desk for a couple of minutes and then handed me a card with a name and a phone number on it. This was the early summer of 1968, and the name on the card was Lewis Johnson. When the phone was answered when I called, I asked to speak to Lewis. As we talked, I found out Lewis lived on the south side of Chicago. Remember that song, Big, Big, Bad Leroy Brown? And he seemed to be interested at least in talking more. Somehow during the conversation, I asked Lewis if he knew any other players who might be interested in coming to college in California. Almost instantly he answered, "I have a cousin who's 6'5" named Ronnie Johnson." Looking back over 50 plus years, it is probably the most astute question I have ever asked. Lewis gave me cousin Ronnie's phone number, and I made one of the best phone calls of my life. Sight unseen, I recruited Ronnie to La Mirada, California and Biola College. When he finally arrived at Los Angeles Airport in late August, I met a 17-year-old boy who was nothing like the man you're going to meet in just a moment. Ronnie was tall, but it was evident that he didn't have much confidence in himself. And as we looked at his high school transcripts, we also knew the classroom was going to be a challenge. As I got acquainted with Ronnie, I realized he had an amazing desire to succeed. He was a fabulous basketball player. I didn't worry about his skills there. My biggest worry was, could he stay eligible? The first semester was coming to an end, and I knew that his English class was a real struggle. As I said before, I was a rookie head coach, and I desperately wanted Ronnie to be eligible. But I also knew a college education would lead him down the road to lifetime success. I was soon alerted that Ronnie was going to probably make an F in his English class. So I somehow gathered up enough courage to go and talk with his English professor. Ronnie had been in our home many times during that first semester, and my wife had spent hours tutoring him as he made the adjustment from Farragut High School in inner city Chicago to Biola College. We knew he had the desire, determination, and ability to be successful, but he needed encouragement and adequate time to make the adjustment to becoming a college student. As I met with the English professor, I wanted to first listen to his analysis of Ronnie's ability. I was bothered and annoyed by his statement that he was not college material and should be back home in Chicago working in some menial job. After he finished, I decided to state my case. I told the professor that my coming to him was not about basketball, but my concern was giving a young man time to adjust and adapt to a new culture and to new educational demands. I said something to the effect that time and grace were needed. I asked the professor to give him the lowest D grade possible. It would mean he passed 12 hours, and I added, he'll still have to take the English class over and earn a C or better to graduate. Fortunately, I won that battle as he agreed to give Ronnie a D-. That's enough of the backstory. Ronnie soon became Ronn, a 3-time NAIA All-American. He was a pleasure to coach, but I certainly didn't see the great impact he would have in his chosen profession, psychology. I was able to introduce Ronn after he graduated, and he was working with me as a graduate assistant to a man named Dr. Forrest Ladd, who became Ronn's mentor in counseling psychology, and he opened the door to some of the wonderful opportunities Ronn has had over the last 40 years. Piggy Lambert, John Wooden's coach at Purdue University, once was asked by the media how well of a job he did as a coach in a particular year. Coach Lambert simply said, "Ask me in 20 years and we'll see how successful my players are. Then I'll be able to tell you if I succeeded as a coach." Tonight, as we honor Dr. Ronn Johnson as the Larry Smith Award winner, I can tell you without a doubt, I succeeded as a coach with him. And now, would you turn your attention to the video board as we hear more things about Dr. Ronn Johnson, 2022's Larry Smith Award winner.
Dr. Ronn Johnson is the winner of the 2022 Larry Smith Award. Johnson came to Biola from inner city Chicago in 1968. Shortly after he arrived on campus, his English teacher told his basketball coach that he wasn't college material and should return to Chicago and get a job. Ronn Johnson went on to become one of Biola's all-time great players, scoring 1,803 points, collecting 1,460 rebounds, and shooting 52% from the field, and becoming a 3-time NAIA All-American and Biola Hall of Fame inductee. Academically, he earned his bachelor's degree in physical education from Biola. He then went on to earn his master's degree in education from Southern Nazarene and another master's degree in psychology from the University of Central Oklahoma, and yet another master's degree in psychology from Chapman, and then earned his doctoral degree in psychology from Oklahoma State University. And then he was awarded 2 postdoctoral fellowships. In addition to his formal education, Dr. Ronn Johnson is now considered one of the nation's foremost experts on PTSD and is the Senior Associate Dean of Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging, as well as a tenured faculty member in the Creighton University School of Medicine. He has served on editorial boards for 25 publications and has been recognized with 15 awards from universities, hospitals, and service organizations. He has written a book and has a contract to write 4 more books. Dr. Johnson has published almost 150 articles, given almost 300 presentations, and has served 33 different law enforcement agencies. Congratulations to Dr. Ronn Johnson, winner of the 2022 Larry Smith Award.
It's almost halftime. I lived in Texas and Oklahoma for about 10 years, and there's 2 things that I got from that experience, and my coach is also from Texas, is I got a Texas or Oklahoma accent that comes out whenever I'm nervous. I'm nervous right now, so you'll hear it probably. And I got a wife, so I'm glad I did actually have that experience in living in Oklahoma and Texas. I want to start, if I had to change the title of this appreciation, it would be thank yous and opportunities. At the top of that list is my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, who gave me the ability to play basketball, and from that my life just kind of sprung, and a lot of opportunities emerged from that, and I'm grateful for that. Larry Smith, I want to thank you. Where is he? Where'd he go? Disappeared. Okay. For your life, your history of giving back, and the history of providing opportunities. I can't thank you enough for that experience. So on that list of thank yous, sorry, my mother. Her name was Delia Johnson. She was quite a person. I remember when I was a kid growing up, we had civil rights workers come to our home trying to collect money for the civil rights movement, Dr. King. And I remember sitting behind a chair with her as the civil rights workers were encouraging her to make a donation, which she did make. And she was a leader in the community, and they wanted her to also come out and march with them, and she refused to do that. And you'd have to know her. She's gone. She lived to be 97 years old, but they said, Mrs. Johnson, we really want you to come out because you're recognized in the community. Everyone knows you, and it would be important for people to see you. They need to see you out there marching. And she said, honey, I can't do that. I'm sorry. But why, Mrs. Johnson? Why can't you come out? Well, honey, listen, if someone spits on me, I'm going to kick their ass. So that was her. I want to thank my coach, Jim Poteet. You've had an opportunity to hear from him. And I think if you're fortunate as a player to have a great coach, you'll know that coach cares about you outside of the basketball, and someone who provides leadership in your life and an impact in your life. And I can't thank you enough, Coach, for the experiences that you've afforded me in traveling across the world and playing in a lot of different countries. I'm grateful for the contribution that you made in my life. John McCarthy, thank you for orchestrating this whole thing and making it work. There are not enough thank yous that I could extend to you to make you aware of how much I appreciate this and the contribution that you've made to small college basketball. It's wonderful. Thank you very much. I want to thank my wife of 40 years, Christy Johnson. Bertie, I love you. I said I wasn't going to cry. I'm a crier when I get happy, and I'm happy right now. Thank you for your contribution in my life. Thank you for being there with me all the times. God has a special gold medal in heaven for you because of putting up with me. I know it has not been easy to do that, and thank you, honey. I love that. I'm going to thank all my children. None of them were able to come because of a variety of reasons, But Rachel, Ross, Cody, Barrett, Bebo, my twins, Addie, Elizabeth, Liz, my brother, Steve, Diane, Deanna, thank you for your contribution in my life. There's just no way to sort of put a word around it. As a player, one of the things that I would do before the game to warm up is I would stand on the court underneath the basket and I would dunk repeatedly. Just go up, dunk, from flat foot, go up, dunk, go up, dunk, go up, dunk, and I would do that to get warmed up. And some of my teammates would recently called and said, well, they remember that routine that I would have of doing that. And some of them asked, well, are you still dunking? And I said, yes, without hesitating. I dunk every day. I get my coffee out, I take my donut, and I dunk it in that coffee. Sometimes I can even hover above the cup and throw it down. So you bet I have the ability to dunk. So that's critical to remember. Tonight, though, a lot of teams are assembled here, and I wondered out loud if the group of athletes that have been recognized here tonight, if we could all get together and form a team and play an all-star team from all the teams that are represented here. And I wonder what would happen in that game. I think it would be a tightly fought game and would probably come down to several overtimes, probably 3 overtimes. But I think eventually we would probably lose because we're old farts. And besides that, the games are played at times that we normally would be asleep. So that would also preclude us from being able to function well in that game. I want to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for providing me with the opportunity to be able to be skilled enough to play basketball and to have come from a great institution. There's just so many things that I could say, but I think the best thing to say is thank you. I'm appreciative of being here. I'm appreciative that you are here too, and I hope that you basketball players will remember that this doesn't last very long, but the relationships that you form with your teammates and your coaches are something that will extend into your life, and I'm grateful for that experience because you can only get something like that at a small college experience, and I want to thank you for that opportunity and thank you for being here.
Through the generosity of Larry and Elaine Smith, Small College Basketball is proud to present a check to Biola University in the amount of $5,000 on behalf of 2022 Larry Smith Award winner, Dr. Ron Johnson.